Hello, Fury Fighters. Well, this has been a very long time since I made a video, and I've wanted to do it for a while now because a lot has changed since the first video I made about alloys. And yeah, what can I say? The first video was 20 minutes, the second 17 minutes, but that's already been over a year ago. So I decided to redo this video and hopefully give you more details about what to do when you set up your alloys for your heroes in your team. But before we start, I have to explain a few things. I will not show you everything that you need to do. I will explain it more to hopefully keep this video a little bit shorter than if I would have to actually do all the actions in front of you and you can see how it goes. But hopefully with explaining it properly you will learn a lot about alloys today. So here I go. First thing you need to know, whenever you change out a hero and put it in your team, in your main 6, you always have to do the following things. And they are important because if you don't do them, you mess up the balance of your team. You can't just put in one hero and take the alloys off the other hero and put them on the hero you just put in. It does not work very well. There is a reason for this that I hope I will explain to you properly today. So what is necessary to know? When you go to the Grow tab and you just changed your hero, I'm not going to do that now because it will be a very long video, but if you go to your Grow tab, the first thing you do is you go to Soul Guard and you remove all your Soul Guards from your from their places and you put in weak heroes. So that is before you do anything else. First you put in the hero, then you take out your Soul Guards. Now why do you do that? Some of you can probably remember the Soul Guard bug that we had for a very long time, and because of that Soul Guard was changed a little bit in regards to how it affects the bonus added. So if you take out your if you take out your Soul Guard heroes, put the alloys on them later and then put them back into your Soul Guards, they will give you better stats. Most people don't know this, that's why I'm mentioning this. So before you change your alloys, always remove your Soul Guards first. After you've removed your Soul Guards, you just put in some weak heroes. Once C15, C13, doesn't matter, any heroes that you're not using, you put them in for the time being, and when you've done your alloys, you put your Soul Guards back in. After that, when you take out you replaced your Soul Guard heroes, you go to your Z alloys, and as you can see, there we go, always lagging. You go into Z alloys. Now when you start with changing your heroes and you want to redo your alloys, you have to do something that nobody likes to do, and trust me, I don't like it also, but that is to remove all the alloys of all your heroes. All of them? Yes, all of them. So you go through all of your heroes and you remove every single tab with alloys on them. And after you've went through all of them, you remove all of them from all your heroes. I only put them on the ones that I need for my IS teams, of course. And when all of them have red dots and none of them have any alloys on them, then you start. Now, here's the important part to know. When you set up your alloys, you have to set them up according to the team that you have and according to the opponents you want to beat. Now, your main 6 for arena, that means very many different things. So say for example, you are an offensive player. You like to play offensive, but you don't have more speed than your opponent, and your opponent plays defensive. Then it's very unlikely that if you have less speed than your opponent with a defensive team, that your offensive team will beat that opponent, because they will go first and they have more defense. So you have a double um, disadvantage in that sense. So if you want to beat opponents that have more speed and play with a defensive team, you also have to play defensive. But this is where Alloys gets really complicated, because how can you beat somebody that is faster than you and more defensive than you? Well, technically you shouldn't be able to, but I've proven that wrong many times in my own fights. You can. However, it will get very complicated in a moment, so I will try to explain things step by step. When you play against a defensive team, you always have to play defensive too, unless you have more speed or unless you play with a very high controlling team that also is very defensive. What does that mean? If you want to set yourself up defensively, one thing that I can always advise to do, and you don't have to, these tips are again suggestions, so you don't have to follow them. It always depends on who you're up against, how your server is, how your opponent is set up. I can't explain everything in one video. I can't give you a setup that will always work against your opponents, but hopefully these tips will help you to become stronger, more solid and more balanced. So what I do with my heroes in the front line is I have 3 defenders in my current team: Vegeta Evo, Mecha and Vegito. Now all of them in the advanced tab, the medium tab and the basic tab, I have set them up for reduction alloys. Now as you can see, the Godly Key and the Evil Key are all reduction key alloys, and they determine your aura. So when you set up defensive heroes for your front line and you have 3 of them, you can most likely gain the best advantage of your heroes by setting them up with all damage reduction alloys. That means all taps. So if you can see here, with my Mecha I also have 3 taps, all reduction alloys, and with Vegeta also 3 taps of reduction alloys. This will massively increase your defenses for your front line. Of course there's much more to say, like how you set up your amulets and how you set up your talent points, for example, but we're talking only about alloys today. So set up your frontline heroes with all reduction alloys. But I will tell you the order later. Your backline, this is the other very interesting part. You can do several things depending on who you're playing against. Excuse me. You can go bonus, reduction, bonus, or bonus, reduction, reduction, or reduction, bonus, bonus, or reduction, reduction, bonus. It all depends on how you want to play against your opponent. And I've had somebody said to me after I came back after 7 months that alloys don't matter so much anymore, it's all about speed. I unfortunately have to disagree with that. It is definitely still about alloys, because how you set them up will make a huge difference in your fights. And yes, you can counter almost every opponent with the right setup of alloys, together with the right combination of heroes, passive teams, talent points, amulets, etc. However, that's why I love this game so much. You have to figure it out. So hopefully with the new videos I will make, I will give you plenty of tips to understand what is important, what to pay attention to. Now when you play a very, very defensive team, you can set up your front line fully defensive. Your basic and your medium taps of your offensive heroes, you can make them defensive as well, and then only use your advanced tap to play offensively. Yes, you will lose a lot of offensive power, but your heroes will last longer in a fight. So if you want to make sure that your opponent, who is playing very defensive, cannot beat you with their attack much easier, you also set up your backline heroes more defensively with the basic and the medium tab defensive and the advanced tab with bonus. As you can see, I have done the same for my Beerus. Well, actually I haven't, but I was gonna say my IZ. He is bonus, reduction, and reduction. And my Beerus, I made him reduction, reduction, and reduction. Now why would I do that? He's in the back line. He is offensive in that sense, but I made him with 3 reduction tabs. Now why did I do that? The reason why is that when you play controlling, or you have a controlling hero, one that stuns or silence or freezes or mechanizes, and you put that hero in the back line, you sacrifice a lot of defense. So when it comes down to controlling heroes, you want them to last as long as possible. So don't focus so much on offense when setting up controlling heroes. You can think about Beerus, you can think about Majin Vegeta, you can think about Chi-Chi, you can think about Trunks. It all depends where you place them, of course. But if you want them to use their skills, their silence, their stun, their mechanize, their freeze, as long as possible into a fight, you have to set them up defensively too. Again, yes, you do sacrifice a lot of offense, but at least your hero won't die so fast. Hopefully, depending on, of course, how the fight goes. And you will be able to silence or stun or freeze or mechanize them more often during a fight, which will give you a lot of control in a fight. So please remember this when you set up your heroes. Who you have in your team and how you set them up makes a big difference on how the fight goes. I cannot repeat this often enough. You need to play smart. You need to consider the skills of the hero. You need to make sure that your opponent will be countered by the actions of your alloys. And I will most likely not be able to explain everything today because there is really a lot to say about alloys. It is a very underestimated feature. It's a feature that most people don't want to get into, don't understand, don't want to put the effort in, because yes, it is very tedious to take out all your alloys and then put them back in every time you put in a new hero in your main 6. And people would say, well, why do I have to take out all the alloys of my 20-25 heroes if I'm only going to change my main team? Well, the reason why you do that is because maybe you've now in the meantime gotten new alloys, and those alloys can be used in your new setup. And if, for example, you got some colored alloys or some red alloys or some orange alloys that you didn't have before, every change that you make by removing all of the alloys first and then reapplying them will make all of your teams for Inter-Server World War, for your arena, much more solid. So yes, there is logic in that. Yes, it is annoying to set up all the alloys over and over again, but it is worth it because you get more balance in your team. So, when we have now discussed several options on your teams, what would we do, for example, if we play fully offensive? Well, when you play fully offensive, it is very nice to have more speed, so that when you do start, you can get the maximum out of your team. So say, for example, in your server, you have the highest speed, or one of the highest speed, and you want to play offensively. You want to destroy your opponent as fast as possible, so you have very strong damage dealers like Infinite Zamasu, like the new Goku, like Golden Cooler, like Gogeta, like Android 18, like Cumber, like Jiren, whatever heroes are offensively very powerful, and you have more speed. How do you want to set them up? Well, if you are the top dog, if you have the most speed of everybody, you could play offensively all day long, because nobody will start first against you. But does that now mean that you have to set up all your alloys only offensively with damage bonus? Or should you still consider having some defense? Well, this depends on who is against you. Because say, for example, you do have a very high offensive team and you can do a lot of damage in the first 1, 2, 3 rounds. What if your opponent plays extremely defensive? Will you still survive the second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth round, does it make sense to put all your alloys offensively only while playing against a highly defensive team? Probably not, because it's not all about offense and it's not all about defense. You need to find the balance. So what are you going to do depends on who you're up against and what you want to accomplish in a fight. Do you want to close it fast and the fight fast, or do you want to last several rounds but make sure that you win? It's a lot of details to take in, I know. Now, when you do your alloys, there is always the evil key and the godly key that I told you, and these alloys need to be maxed to 120 as soon as possible and before everything else, so that you get the biggest percentage bonus in damage reduction and damage bonus from these alloys. Now some of them, I don't even know why this one is not upgraded yet. I know, because I lost my upgrades on my Beerus during the buck. So what you do is always try on your main team, your main 6, to have all your alloys, your key alloys, and damage reduction and damage bonus, godly key and evil key, to be maxed at 120. Do not focus so much on the other alloys. You can always make them at least 10, so you have at least one level on all the other alloys. As you can see, I don't have all my other alloys maxed either. I just focus as much as possible on the key alloys first, and when they are done, then I can set up all my other alloys to 120 as well. But the game keeps changing, new heroes keep coming in. It's very difficult to keep track of everything when gold is the most valuable currency in game. Excuse me. So, hope that you understand it so far. How you set up your alloys is very, very important, but what heroes you have and how you set them up, who you're up against, and how they play is very, very important as well. So you can counter everything. It doesn't matter if they have more speed, more dragons, more defense, more offense, whatever it is, you can counter your opponents with your alloys. Not only alloys, it's combination of amulets, talent points, etc, etc. But you can counter whatever you are up against as long as you know what you're focusing on. Now what else is there to say? Yes, so what you do is you have just taken out your soul guards and you have taken off all the alloys of all your heroes. Now you are empty, you go back out and you go back in. Now I'm not going to take off all my alloys now, because then you'll be looking at this video for a very long time and I have to explain everything in the time that I do that, but I prefer to describe it to you rather than to do it. So imagine that all my heroes now have no alloys on them. How can you set up your alloys in the best way possible? This again, there are many different techniques to set up your alloys. Of course, having the same color alloys in your tab will give you an additional bonus of having the same color alloys in one set. So all colored alloys, all red alloys, all orange alloys, it's always better if you have the same colors. But how do you start? Where do you start? Who do you give what? And why? Now I have different techniques that I figured out on how to put your alloys. One of them is you start always at the advanced tab, no matter what. No matter what you do on every hero, you always start at the advanced tab. Now there are two techniques that I want to explain to you, maybe three, that you can test for yourself to see what works best. One of the techniques is you start at the advanced tab of your strongest attacker and you put a bonus aura on there. So you go quick set and you select breeze aura or waving aura or whatever it is, and you put an offensive aura on there. Now after that you go to your strongest defender. In my case this would probably be Vegito or Mecha. You go to the strongest defender, the advanced aura tab, and you again quick set and you select the defensive aura. If you don't have it available, you know you can always click change and change out the key aura from the menu. After you've put your strongest attacker and your strongest offender, strongest offender and strongest defender on the advanced aura tab with their alloys, you go to your second strongest offender and you put again quick set bonus. Then you go to your second strongest defender and you put quick set and reduction. Then you go to your third strongest attacker, you put quick set offense, and then you go to your third strongest defender, quick set defense reduction. Once you have all your advanced tabs done of your main heroes, again this is just one technique, then you go in the medium tab and you do exactly the same, but now you set up a reduction for your backline. You start with your highest attacker, you put a damage reduction. You go back to your strongest defender, another reduction. You go back to your second strongest attacker, another reduction. You go back to your second strongest defender, another reduction. You go back to your third strongest defender attacker, and you put another reduction. And you go to your last strongest defender, and you put another reduction. Now you have, for all your heroes, your attacking heroes, you have offense, and in the advanced tab, for all your defenders you have all reduction, and for your medium aura you have all of them, both your defenders and attackers, you have them at reduction, and that leaves only the basic aura. So again you go to your strongest attacker, you put now a bonus, for example. You go to your strongest defender and you put another reduction. You go to your second strongest attacker and you put another bonus. And then you go to your second strongest defender and another reduction. Then your third strongest attacker and another bonus. And your third strongest defender and another reduction. I hope this was clear so far. So offenders get bonus, reduction, bonus, and defenders get reduction, reduction, reduction. Now this is one technique on how you can set up your heroes. It's an easy way, it's a balanced way, it will work in a lot of cases and it creates a lot of balance for your overall team. So you can try that. The other option that you can do is to put your focus on your main heroes, your strongest heroes, the ones that you want to last as long as possible, do as much damage as possible, or defend as much as possible. And maybe for those who pay attention, you can see that I've done that already with my Infinite Zamasu. I used all colored alloys on him, and I started with him on the advanced tab, then the medium tab, then the basic tab. So I focused first on my Infinite Zamasu. Then I went to my mecha and I set my mecha up. Actually, yes, I think I did that. So I went to my mecha. I want my mecha to defend as long as possible, mechanize as many as possible. So I put him fully with reduction and made sure that he lasts as long as possible in my fights. Because the more people attack him, the more he gets to do his ultimate, the more people get mechanized, and my control goes up a lot. Goku, after that second strongest attacker at the moment in my team, I put as many strong auras on him as possible. Then I went to my Vegito and set him up, and my Beerus and my Evo. So you can see that the colored alloys are going slowly down from how many I have, and at some point there's a few of them that will be mixed, except on my Evo, who is by itself a very strong defender, so he doesn't need the strongest alloys that I have. He just needs to have all the key alloys at 120 and be set up with reduction everywhere, and he should be good. Does this make sense so far? I really hope so. So 2 techniques. Start with the advanced tab on all 6 heroes, then go offender, defender, offender, defender, offender, defender, and do the same with medium tab and the basic tab. And the second technique is to start with your strongest heroes, the ones that you want to last as long as possible, that you want to survive as long as possible, do as much damage as possible, and you set them up first. And then when you've done that, so say for example I start with my IZ, then with my Goku BF, then with my Mecha, then with my Beerus, then with my Vegito, and then with my Vegeta Evo. That means I put an order in who is most important for me, who is the strongest, down to the least strongest. So that's the second technique. For now I will discuss only these 2 techniques. Once you have your main 6 set up, the rest is actually quite simple. You have of course your IZ teams, so you can make this very complicated and put 3 different teams with each 6 heroes, and you can get very complicated in this and make sure that every team is set up for your IZ teams. Maybe down the line I will make a video about how to do that, but for now let's keep it simple, or at least as simple as possible. Once you're done, you just go down your list of your strongest hero and you use the same technique as before, depending on what you want them to do, depending on how many stars they have, depending on loads of different things about the hero itself, which is the complicated part and the difficult part to explain. But you just go down advanced, medium, basic, then you go to your next hero, advanced, medium, basic. However you want to set them up, offensively, defensively, or balanced, it depends on how quickly they die against your opponents. If after you have set up all your alloys you still notice that your hero is dying too fast, well, then maybe you should put on another damage reduction. If he's not doing enough damage, then you put on another damage bonus. However, after you've done your main 6, it would help to put your Soul Guard heroes with the strongest alloys as well. However, most people don't really pay a lot of attention to upgrading their alloys as they should, so you can just go from down the list. But for the pros, for example, you may want to start with the heroes in your Soul Guard first before doing the other heroes, and make sure that you have at least 20 heroes that are all useful, that you can all use in your IS teams, in your inter-server teams, set up with alloys. And don't worry about the ones you don't use, because you won't use them. They're not going to be bothering you, so don't waste any alloys on heroes that you don't need. Now, after you have set up all your alloys, you do decompose alloy and you check through your list if you have a lot of alloys to sell. And when you have a lot of alloys to sell that you don't need, preferably do not sell any orange, red or colored alloys, please, because you're just gonna need them. But white, green, blue and purple, you could sell them, and you will get a little bit of goodies back from them, some alloy shards, and you can then use those alloy shards to upgrade your key alloys on your heroes that don't have maxed key alloys yet. So once you've done that, you're pretty much set up. You have now put 18, 19, 20 heroes filled with all your alloys with one of the 2 techniques I described, and you go back to your Soul Guards, and now you change out your Soul Guards back into their places. And after this, and I think most people don't really do this also. They want to immediately test the fight. What I recommend is that you close your game and restart it again. What I've noticed, I can't prove it of course, is that after you've changed your alloys and you restart your game, the better effect only starts after that, not immediately. So it's like your account needs to refresh basically. That's pretty much it, but I do want to stress very much that the placement of your heroes is very important. The way your opponent is set up is very important. Passive teams are very important. Your talent points are very important. Your amulets are very important. It is not in this game just changing one hero in and out and taking over the alloys of the hero you took out. It doesn't work. It is complicated, it is strategic, it is using your brain, it is putting the heroes in the right places, it is countering your opponents with your own actions. So I hope that all of this made a little bit of sense, that you can hopefully learn from this, test it, play with it a little bit, and hopefully you will give me some feedback if these tips were clear enough, if you learned something from it, if you tested it, tried it, and if it helped you. Most of the time people did not do their alloys for a very long time, and when I go into their accounts and reset their alloys, redo their alloys over and over again, I usually gain more CR from just setting up a new team that is much weaker, much less advanced than the high CR team that they were doing, and the team becomes more balanced and starts winning more fights. So I hope again that these tips make sense, that you will try them, that you will consider the things that I said for how you play the game. Because if you do play this game to be competitive, if you do like to kick more ass and beat more people on your server or surprise them, then you have to put in the effort, guys. You have to make sure that you do the work, balance your teams, counter the opponents you're playing against, play around with the heroes, with the positioning, with the passive teams, with the alloys, with the amulets. I will try to make as many videos as possible in the next few days and weeks to give a lot more advice about amulets, talent points, any tips that I can think of that will hopefully help you understand the game better. And hopefully when I have a nice collection of everything, you give me a lot of feedback on how I explain things, if it was helpful, if it was not helpful. I can hopefully do my best to help you learn more, get stronger, and kick more ass. So let me know absolutely what you thought, and I'll close the video here. Love you, Fury Fighters. Enjoy testing this. Have a nice day. Bye bye.